I must die, chase the cat.
Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. Thank you for joining me on this not so bad Saturday. Had a few raindrops on the way into the studio, but it's certainly a far cry from some of the chill that we've had. You know, this is one of those crazy springs that just really doesn't want to pop. And you know what that means is, like, one day it's just going to be 90 degrees and we're going to be stuck with that. And that's going to be summer, and that's not going to be pretty. But anyway, tonight I have an agenda, and you know, you hear me talk about a lot of things on the show, and I'm very forthcoming with the fact that I am a vegetarian, and there are differences between being a vegetarian versus being a vegan, and the big difference there is that a vegan consumes no dairy. Now, I'm not going to get into the cruelties involved with either of those on this show, although I'd like to dig into it at some point. But know that there are very few paths to take in this world anymore that don't involve some type of cruelty. And it's really awful. Being a vegetarian was a decision I made because I decided that no animal had to suffer and die for me to live. Quite simply, I can do without meat. It's something that bothered me from the time I was a child, and I feel like it was kind of late in life when I put my foot down after a few false starts, but I did it. And I aspire someday to be able to get rid of the dairy, because, as I said, there are all kinds of cruelties involved there. But, you know, there are other industries that are harmful to animals. They involve food, household products, and cosmetics. You know, animal testing, unbelievable the things that are done in so many different ways. You know, there's the medical field as well that experiments on animals. And it's when you see the pictures, if you do the research, it's enough to make you sick. And that's another avenue that I need to do better with, and I know I do. The problem for me is my skin is so sensitive. You know, when you find stuff that doesn't make you, like, turn red and have eczema and dermatitis and everything else, you start to kind of stick to those, but then you find out that they're not maybe the best choices. So, you know, I do aspire to someday be able to move in the direction where things don't bother me and they don't harm other animals. But the thing that I want to talk about tonight, and it's been a topic for me both in my everyday world and a lot on Facebook, that I think a lot of people don't really grasp what the big picture is palm oil. Now, palm oil's in so many things. It's just incredible. With the fact that I am a label reader from the get-go. You know, you'd be surprised what types of products that, you know, you think, okay, I'm going to eat this, I'm a vegetarian, it's going to be great, but then you get cake products that say they have beef fat in them. You have stuffing that has chicken broth in it. You have any number of things that they slip in there for flavor. And, you know, flavoring is another thing. I've read some horrors, like natural flavors, what that entails. But again, on another show, because I'd like to cover the whole palm oil thing. I mean, I also have food allergies too, so that makes me a crazy label reader, because really, I really am not looking to go into anaphylactic shock for any reason at all. But since I've become aware of palm oil, reading labels is just unbelievable, because almost everything I pick up, I put back. Whether it's a snack food, or a cracker, or a cake, chocolate, margarine, it's unbelievable. It's everywhere. And the list of things that I can eat with a clear conscience is just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And with the fact that I'm trying to eliminate, as much dairy as I can, I don't know what I'm going to eat pretty soon. Perhaps I'll finally be really skinny. I don't know. But what I'd like to do, I did some research because I knew that I wanted to talk about this. And I'm going to read to you only because it's a lot easier to give you the facts when they're printed. I went to a website called saynotopalmoil.com, and they have an incredible wealth of information. And I encourage you, when we're done with the show tonight, to go check it out, because you may not absorb everything I say. You maybe catch some of it, maybe absorb it better if you read it yourself. They have a mailing list. They have a Facebook site. If you feel as strongly about it as me when all is said and done, or even if it piques your interest, it's always best to be informed. Zach, if you will pull up our little presentation, I will don my reading glasses and I will proceed. Palm oil is a type of edible vegetable oil that is derived from the palm fruit grown on the African oil palm tree. Health concerns surrounding trans fats led many food manufacturers to abandon partially hydrogenated oils. Palm oil has helped fill the void. Oil palms are originally from Western Africa, but can flourish wherever heat and rainfall are abundant. Today, palm oil is grown throughout Africa, Asia, North America, and South America, with 85% of all palm oil globally produced and exported from Indonesia and Malaysia, but most of the time not using sustainable measures. The industry is linked to major issues such as deforestation, habitat degradation, climate change, animal cruelty, and indigenous rights abuses in the countries where it is produced, as the land and forests must be cleared for the development of the oil palm plantations. According to the World Wildlife Fund, an area the equivalent size of 300 football fields of rainforest is cleared each hour to make way for palm oil production. This large-scale deforestation is pushing many species to extinction, and findings show that if nothing changes, species like the orangutan could become extinct in the wild within the next 5 to 10 years, and Sumatran tigers less than 3 years. In total, 50 million tons of palm oil is produced annually, supplying over 30% of the world's vegetable oil production. This single vegetable oil is found in approximately 40 to 50% of household products in countries such as the United States, Canada, Australia, and England. Palm oil can be present in a wide variety of products, including baked goods, confectionery, shampoo, cosmetics, cleaning agents, washing detergents, and toothpaste. A large proportion of palm oil expansion occurs at the expense of biodiversity and ecosystems in the countries it is produced. Currently, a third of all mammal species in Indonesia are considered to be critically endangered as a consequence of this unsustainable development that is rapidly encroaching on their habitat. One animal of particular importance, according to conservationists, is the orangutan, which has become a charismatic icon for deforestation in Borneo and Sumatra. Over 90% of orangutan habitat has been destroyed in the last 20 years, and as such is considered a conservation emergency by the UN. An estimated 1,000 to 5,000 orangutans are killed each year for this development. The orangutan is a keystone species and plays a vital role in maintaining the health of the ecosystem. An example of this being the spread of rainforest seeds in Indonesia, many of which can only germinate once passed through the gut of an orangutan. Hence, this primate is essential for the existence of the forest. But the orangutan is not the only species affected by palm oil development. Their situation represents the story of thousands of other species facing the same fate in Southeast Asia. There are over 300,000 different animals found throughout the jungles of Borneo and Sumatra, many of which are injured, killed, and displaced during deforestation. In addition, palm oil development increases accessibility of animals to poachers and wildlife smugglers who capture and sell wildlife as pets, use them for medicinal purposes, or kill them for their body parts. The destruction of rainforests in Borneo and Sumatra is therefore not only a conservation emergency, but a major animal welfare crisis as well. Wildlife such as orangutans have been found buried alive, killed from machete attacks, guns, and other weaponry. Government data has shown that over 50,000 orangutans have already died as a result of the deforestation due to palm oil in the last 2 decades. This either occurs during the deforestation process or after the animal enters a village or existing palm oil plantation in search of food. Mother orangutans are also often killed by poachers and have their babies taken to be sold or kept as pets or used for entertainment in wildlife tourism parks in countries such as Thailand and Bali. Others that suffer as a result of this development include species like the Sumatran tiger, Sumatran rhinoceros, sun bear, pygmy elephant, clouded leopard, and proboscis monkey. Road networks that are constructed to allow palm oil plantation workers and equipment access to the forest also increase accessibility of these areas to poachers that are looking for these kinds of valuable animals. This allows poachers to comfortably drive to an area to sit and wait for their target, where previously they may have had to trek through inaccessible areas of forest. Now, I've also seen something very recently, and I was not able to pull up the pictures, of elephants being poisoned because they're feeding on the palm trees. Now, the picture that I saw was quite disturbing because it was just a little pack of elephants. All had been poisoned and laying there dead and dying because they were hungry and decided to eat. So there's a lot more to palm oil than most people even think, you know. I've been hailed as a nut, I'm sure, for my recent campaign against palm oil. You know, they laugh at me at work when I, get on my high horse and start talking about, hacking the limbs off of the orangutans as they're trying to hang on to their homes and they're being chased out, being left for dead and, burned in the forest that they're clearing out and starting over. But, this is all very real. These are animals whose, typical of man, their homes are being just wiped out for greed and profit and with no consideration to what's happening to the creatures that live there. I can't live with myself knowing that this isn't the stuff that I would be eating. I'd rather not eat it. And, you could say, how does one person, basically going on strike, make a difference? Well, if one person gets another person, gets another person, gets another person, I think that makes a big difference. When you spread the word and you build the awareness, I think it can make a big difference. And I'm going to continue reading here. As a consumer, you can help to reduce your contribution to palm oil through making some simple lifestyle changes. This Say No to Palm Oil website is trying to make a 28-day palm oil challenge, which will be the world's first holistic consumer program that will help consumers to reduce their consumption of palm oil one step at a time and ultimately live a more ethical, sustainable, and healthful lifestyle. The program will be broken into 4 sections: fridge, pantry, bathroom, and laundry, with 1 installment delivered per week. Each will focus on how, as a consumer, you can make small changes in relation to your consumption of products found in these specific areas of the house. You will leave the program with a wealth of knowledge, tools, and resources to help you lead a more ethical and sustainable lifestyle and be more conscious of your impact day to day. The challenge will focus around 3 main principles. Number 1 would be cut down. By reducing your consumption of certain products, you can help to remove palm oil and other unsustainable vegetable oils from your lifestyle. The challenge will offer examples each week of certain products this could include. Number 2 would be swap it for those products that you cannot avoid. We will help you to find alternatives that either contain genuinely certified sustainable palm oil or ones containing alternative ingredients to palm oil that also don't have negative environmental and social impacts. Number 3 would be to try something new. When trying to live a more sustainable and ethical lifestyle, it is important to introduce new habits into your daily routine. This could include making more of your own food or trying to buy locally. The 28-day palm oil challenge will provide you with a variety of tips and resources on how you can achieve this. Now, the 28-day palm oil challenge will be developed over the coming months and released by early 2015. Now, I'm excited about that because having guidelines is a lot easier than doing it on your own. I read, like I said, ingredients on everything, and at first I thought it was just in food, but then I started seeing it in lotions and soaps and things like that. So it's a huge problem, and I wish that this plan was coming out a lot sooner, but you can do a lot between now and whenever it is developed, just by reading ingredients and avoiding the products that are supporting the massacre of innocent animals. I mean, it's horrible. And just a few facts, palm oil has surpassed soy oil as the world's most popular vegetable oil. Palm oil is used in about 50% of all packaged food products in supermarkets today. Palm oil is used in a wide range of foods like margarine and ice cream, and non-food products like shampoos, soap, and cosmetics to make them more creamy. And palm kernel oil is an oil which is extracted from the seeds of the oil palm. So that's really not any better than, it comes from the same place. So SayNoToPalmOil.com is definitely a site to check out because they had a lot of information. I Googled it and it, just palm oil, and this site came up, and I was extremely grateful because it had a wealth of information, and I was able to present this to you tonight just from like a visit to a couple of places. I'll take the camera back and I will tell you that yes, it's big brands that use palm oil. It's not, I find that with my label reading, probably the cheaper the stuff, the more likely it is to have the palm oil in it. I think the better stuff, with some exceptions, will have less. But it's out there, and it's really in almost everything. I mean, when I tell you literally I put more stuff back than I buy, and it's frustrating for me to think that there are certain things that, I'm not going to eat them for a good long time until this gets straightened out, if it ever gets straightened out. And then there's the duplicity between brands and products where you look at two things by the same manufacturer and one has palm oil in it and one doesn't. Well, what do you believe? Because it says vegetable oil on one and it says palm oil on the other. What are you hiding? Are you hiding? It almost makes me want to stop eating entirely, and for this Greek Italian, that's a big deal. But I'm going to tell you my most horrified moment recently. Everybody loves Girl Scout cookies? Yeah, I haven't had them in years, and my boss's daughters were, the whole Girl Scout thing, so I was like, yeah, baby, gotta have my Samoas, gonna try this other new one. And as soon as I got them, I read the labels, and guess what? I sold my Girl Scout cookies because I wasn't eating them. They had palm oil in them. I was horrified. I thought for sure the Girl Scouts of all people were going to be wholesome little buggers and, you know, not put garbage in their food like that and you know, impact the environment and the world and the animals also negatively. But no, I was fooled again. And yeah, I sold my Girl Scout cookies because I wouldn't eat them. And that's just another thing that I will not touch. So, you know, it's a lot to absorb, and it's a very big deal. And I know that a lot of people aren't as obsessive, maybe, as you might call it, as me, where, you know, they just like try to eliminate everything kind of wholesale like I did. But it can be done. You just have to dig a little deeper. You have to read the labels. You have to understand what you're reading. And you have to remember, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to go on a diet, or, oh, you know, I don't like this. It's think about the animals that are brutally murdered, the animals who are displaced, the animals who are abused. To me, that's enough. That's more than enough. You know, can I do without certain foods because animals are being harmed? Yeah, I can. And like I said, my aspiration is to be better with giving up dairy and, you know, some of my choices as far as, you know, personal products. But once you're aware of something, you can never become unaware of it unless you are a really certain kind of person. But anyway, I'm going to lighten this up a little bit because I know that this was kind of a lot and it was heavy, and some of those pictures were, you know, there was a couple of them anyway that were a little disturbing. Monday is my Duke's 12th birthday. And I don't know if I ever told the story about how I came to find Duke. 2002, just moved to Waterbury, was running to the pet store chain after work to pick up supplies for Daisy and Kelly and Elwood and the birds. And this is one of those pet stores where there's a rescue inside. As soon as I walked in the door, I heard this incessant barking. It never stopped. I went through all the aisles that I had to go through. I, you know, did my shopping. I started on the other end of the store, and all I heard was this barking, barking, barking. And I'm thinking to myself, when I make it over to that end of the store, I have got to see what is making all this noise, because it's too much. So I finally wound my way around to where the rescue was, and it had gotten quiet. And I said to the lady, you know, at the shelter, I said, which one? There was a whole bunch of puppies. I said, which one of these dogs is making all that ungodly noise this whole time? And she pointed to one. I said, him? Yeah. It's quiet now. Can I hold him? Sure, go ahead. So I picked him up, and I held him. And the little bugger fell asleep in my arms for an hour. I stood there in the store holding this dog in my arms as he slept like a baby. I don't know if he tired himself out. I don't know if it was, you know, that divine intervention that, you know, he barked until I came. And when I got there, he just, I was like, is he always this quiet? Is like, does he do anything besides bark and sleep? And so, you know, after the hour was over, and I was like, well, you know, I really got to get home. And I was in love. You know, she put him down on the floor. He woke up, and, you know, she was running around, and he was chasing after us. Okay, you know, so, like, he's not just, like, two different modes, bark and sleep. But I was in love. And I could have had him right then and there, but I wanted to wait because I really had to think it through. Did I want a puppy? Did I want a third dog? Did I have it in me? I hadn't had a puppy in 9 years since Daisy was a puppy. Kelly came to me as an adult. Am I up for the task? Is it fair to my other dogs? Is it fair to me? Can I deal with a puppy? Can I deal with a puppy? Can I deal with a puppy? Anyway, I asked the woman at the shelter to hold him for me for 24 hours. Duke Zach, let's get Duke's pictures up because I can see we're kind of like getting close. There he was. How could I not fall in love? That was Daisy's dish at the time, and when Daisy passed a few months later, he inherited it and eventually grew into it. Go ahead. That was Daisy and Duke. Now you could see Duke reminded me of Daisy as a puppy. He almost could have been hers. And there was Duke, a little bigger, playing tug-of-war with Kelly. That was always a sight when they would play. And there he was as he grew up, yep. And that's my Angel. And that's him with his barnacle Gidget, who from the first day she came in the house was his barnacle. But moral of the story is, on the way home, I was like, all I could think about was him. She agreed to hold him for me for 24 hours. All I could think about was this puppy. So what would I name him? And I cracked myself up. What goes with Daisy? Duke. I said, all right, it's a done deal. Lady said she'd hold him for me until 5:30 the next day. And you bet your bottom dollar, at 5 o'clock, I was gone out of work and on my way like a bat out of you-know-where. And Duke came home with me, and he was a challenge, I'm not going to lie. And I did it to myself 2 times over when I brought his brother Posse home just a few months later, and I had 2 puppies on my hands. There was the person who didn't know if she could deal with a puppy, right? I'll never do it again, that's for sure. But Duke will be 12 on Monday, and you know, it's been a great 12 years. He's like the most awesome dog ever. So happy birthday to my boy Duke. And happy birthday to my friend Rob, whose birthday is tomorrow. But that's the story of Duke. There was no way that he didn't catch my attention before I ever saw him. So, you know, sometimes things are weird. They happen for a reason. I walked in that store and I followed the sound, and I fell in love, and I did kind of what I thought was the best thing to do by waiting that 24 hours to make sure that I thought it through. And I wish people would do that more often. Anyway, I'm going to say peace, love, and dogs. Until next week. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.